What's going on, people? Welcome to another episode of the Off the Ball podcast with me, your host, Chris LeBron. And this show is presented by the Off the Ball Network. And I'm very, very excited to have my guest on today. He's someone that does some great work on YouTube. It's for the NBA Draft. It's one of my main sources, to when I do my own personal scouting for the draft. So I'm very excited to have I have Rafael Barlowe, founder of NBA Draft Junkies. What's going on, my man?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No, man, I'm really honored to have you on the show. Like I said, you do some really great work on the YouTube channel, which really blown up of recent. Let's talk. Let's get right into it and talk about how'd you get started with scouting. Period. Like what made you want to get into it, and how did you get into that avenue?
That's a tough question. How did I get started? Well, I guess you can say it originally started when I was a little kid. I just loved the NBA draft. It was something that I always paid attention to. I remember, I'd say the first NBA draft that I really, really remember following was Kenny Anderson. I was a big Kenny Anderson fan.
Yeah. He's awesome. New Jersey
when
Nets.
he's at Georgia Tech. So I'm left-handed, and I thought I was going to be the next Kenny Anderson. So I remember watching that draft, he was the number 2 pick, and then ever since then, it was just something that it was always like my favorite day of the year. And then I would say I worked for the Texas Legends. I was an intern for the Texas Legends for a couple of years, which, if you don't know, that's the Dallas Mavericks G League team. Mm-hmm. And then I was doing some scouting, but I wouldn't say it was too major. But I remember there was a guy that he did some scouting for the team, and I went to shadow him at a game. And then I just started going on my own because, like I said, it was something that I had an interest in. And at the time I thought, man, if I work hard, a team is going to see my work or whatever, and they'll hire me as a scout, which never happened. But then I kind of realized, instead of waiting on the door to open, why not just kick my own door down? So, and I guess the big break for me was, basketball fans may be familiar with the name Epe Udo. He was the 6th pick. So Epe is a friend of mine.
Golden State, right? You went to Golden State?
Yeah, he was with Golden State. Yep. So, and his agent is also a friend of mine. So I was talking to his agent one day. I was like, man, I want to start my own NBA draft website. I want to, just saying stuff. So he says, well, I think that's something Ep would be interested in, doing. And so I was like, right now I feel like this is before Draft Express was with ESPN, but I feel like they had a monopoly.
Yeah.
And
it felt like they were the only draft source, for a little bit.
Yeah, well, to me it was NBADraft.net.
Yeah, and
it was Draft Express. And I felt like Draft Express took it to another level.
Yeah.
Because they have video content.
Yes, yeah.
And I just felt like they had a monopoly. And I remember hearing a quote from Currency once. He said he worked for Cash Money. Mm-hmm. Now he's with Cash Money, and then he was with No Limit. And he was like, if Cash Money, and I'm probably getting the quote wrong, but he's like, if Cash Money was the Whopper and No Limit was the Big Mac, why don't I just create my own burger? And so that's where I kind of got the concept at. And then, so it was the 2016-17 season, and I was actually out in Europe with Epe when he played for Fenerbahce in Turkey, and I had nothing but time on my hands. Mm-hmm. And so I said I wanted to start this website, and then he was like, yeah, man, so he helped me with the money to come up for a domain name and all that stuff. And then, living in Europe, I had nothing but time. And so I asked a friend of mine, how much would it cost to do the website for me? And then I showed him an example of a website. He was like, it's actually my college roommate. He was like, man, something like that. It's a lot of pages. He said, man, it'd probably be like $10,000, $15,000. The type of work that you want is going to take a lot of time and a lot of pages. So I was like, I don't have $10,000, $15,000.
Of course. Yeah.
And I think I'm a creative person. And so what I did was I just said, I'll make my own. I'll create my own website. And it took a long time
Trust me
to
about it.
figure it
Yeah.
out.
No, that process.
And, just the color scheme. First it was too dark, fonts, all of that. But I was thankful because while I was in Europe, I had nothing but time. I mean, I would go to practice, I would go to the games, and I would travel with the teams.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a lot of time to just figure it out. And then, I mean, I think like my first model of the website was like a black website. It just didn't look good. Like it wasn't visually pleasing. And then what really, really made me fall in love with it was there was the FIBA under 18 tournament, and it was supposed to happen in Turkey summer 2016, but I guess they had some issues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think it was like a bomb or something like that. Something. And so they ended up moving that tournament to December. So it was in like December 2016. It was the FIBA under 18 tournament. So I remember like reading up on some of the top European players and all of that. And so that's when I went, and it was in a city called Samsun, Turkey, and it was in the Black Sea. It was near the Black Sea. I was the only Black person there other than the players. I'm in a foreign country, like not in a major city by myself, but I went to all the games, and I still have the notes in my phone. And so I went to go see Frank Ntilikina. So I kept hearing about him. And then I remember taking notes in my phone, and I remember seeing like this kid. I was like, man, this kid is super talented, but he's lazy. During warm-ups, he's not warming up with any intensity, but he is just dominating this game. And I just kept, taking notes. But it was like good and bad. And then coming to find out it was Sekou Doumbouya, but he was only 15 at the time. And so that was kind of like his breakout performance. And then I remember, Frank was in that tournament. Isaiah Hartenstein, that played for Houston, was in the tournament. I can't pronounce his name. Johnny Musa, that plays for the Nets.
Oh, Musa, yeah.
Musa, he was in the tournament. Somebody else I can't think of. But anyway, so I just remember having all these notes. And then there's a couple of guys that are probably going to eventually make it to the NBA, but they're only like 16 or 17 at the time. And then I remember like getting online and reading like some of the comments about other people who were watching the tournament online. And I was like, you know what? They saw the same thing I saw. And these are the people that are somewhat experts. So, so that's when that was like my first tournament. And then after that, I just felt like anytime there's like a tournament in Europe with international prospects, I want to go. And then I felt like for me, it would create a different lane for me because, I mean, I'm a Black male. And how many Black scouts do you know? Yeah. One, I think there's not a lot doing it. And two, that would know the international game. So I started going to all the international showcases. And I just felt like that could be my niche. And so I just fell in love with it. Then the site started growing, and I just started, trying to figure out how I was going to separate myself from others. I have a video background, and like anybody that's been to my website, it's all me. It's a one-man gang. I mean, the content is created by me, the video editing, everything.
Which is, I give you major credit to that, because I know from doing a podcast by myself, just editing and all that process is hard. It's work.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine on top of that, doing everything with the video editing and all, especially when you're trying to patch, prospects together. I mean, that's I give you major credit for getting everything together, because your site, like I said, it's definitely a great looking site too.
Thanks. Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm a one-man gang. Everything from the design of the site, the content, all the layout, it's all me. And so there's a part of me that wishes I had more help to do it, but then there's another part of me that's like, nah, I want it done a certain way, trusting another person. This is like my baby. This is like
no.
So but yeah, I mean, I enjoy it. I'm having fun. I'm thankful. 2020 has been rough. I'll say that much for a lot of people. But I'm thankful for this time.
Yes.
I feel like if a person didn't
take advantage of this time,
take advantage or maximize a skill set, create a new hobby, then you kind of wasted this time. And so for me, what I did different in this year was put myself in front of the camera. Before, I would just kind of do the videos, and I didn't say anything. I just had like different little music behind it and have stuff. But my goal was to be in front of the camera a little bit more and do a script. It takes a lot longer, and because I got to write the script, make sure the script is matching up with the videos. but it's a challenge,
Yeah.
Sometimes I hate doing it. Like I have a video for Grant Riller that I'm ready to drop. The videos are done, but the part about writing the script and all that, it takes me a couple of days. So my production isn't as fast as it used to be, but I feel like I'm doing better work.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I give you a lot of credit for doing all that, because that's a lot of work to do all that, and like I said, clip all the highlights and all that. That's tough. But like I said, I give you a lot of credit. So obviously, 2020 it's a different year than most years. It's been a crazy year. So how have you gone about evaluating this year's draft? Because I mean, we've had, obviously the draft would have been here and there, and we've had 6-7 months to evaluate these kids. So how tough has it been? Have you had too much time to evaluate these guys? Where you start nitpicking, like, oh well, because sometimes I've talked to many draft evaluators, and they just find themselves trying to kind of nitpicking, and that could be bad too, because you don't want to nitpick a little thing just to nitpick, because there's nothing more. You can only watch so much film of guys, So have you found yourself nitpicking a little bit now, or just talk about the tough process of this year's class?
Well, one, I think it's good and bad. One, you're not gonna have somebody that you rank super high based off of them having a big NCAA tournament. I think that happens a lot. I think you see guys that were, they were on one tier, and then all of a sudden, because they had a strong 3 or 5 games, you bump them up. I mean, I think of like Chris Wilcox. Remember, I don't know, it was like 2002, 2003. Yeah, he had a strong NCAA tournament, ended up being a lottery pick. So that's one hand. But then, like, it's very easy to just overanalyze and overevaluate. I felt like Luka Doncic was a victim of that, because, I mean, there was no doubt he was the best player in that class, but he had 80-something games to work with over a calendar year, while the other prospects only had 30. And so because he played so many games, and I was there at that time. So my first time seeing him was 16, 17 season. So I think he was like 17 years old. But he played, like, he went to the Final Four. Then after that, he went to Eurobasket, and then right into the season. And then that's when he had his big year where he was MVP and all that. But he really played like year round. And so I think, like, people started watching his games in April when he was tired, and he just hit a wall. And that started, like, overshadowing everything that he did before.
Playing against grown men too. Like, he's playing against grown men as a teenager. Like,
yeah. I mean, they won, and I was actually there when they won Eurobasket. And so I remember, like, there was other NBA players in that tournament. I remember specifically the game against Latvia. He kept calling the screen on Porzingis and attacking him one-on-one. But so he had the height. Like, he was number 1 on a lot of the draft boards right after that. So that was probably like September 2017, maybe. And then, by April, he was falling, talking about, such and such is better. But he hit a wall. Like, he really played year round. And so I said all that to say this. I think he was overevaluated by a lot. And I think some of these guys in this class are going to be overevaluated, just because you find yourself bored. You start watching guys over again. I know, like, for me, one of the players that I was high on, and then I want to move down some, and high again, is Tyrese Halliburton. Like, I feel like maybe I had him too high. I want to move him down. But what is it based off of? Nothing. The film is still the same.
That's just the guy. Yeah, the film's still the same.
Cole Anthony is someone who I was low on during the season. And now that I've watched this film for a second and third time, I'm higher on him than I was during the season. Normally, the draft would have been in June. Maybe I would have still been kind of low on him. So, this class is just going to be over-evaluated for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot of that, it feels like March Madness, was, years ago. Like, it would have been years ago, and no tournaments too, which is tough too, man. Not only didn't we get no March Madness, for most part, we didn't get any of these conference tournaments too. to get
I think
film
there
on.
was like one day.
It was like
something
one
that.
day, yeah. I've
Yeah.
talked to a couple of prospects, and they're getting ready for the tournament, and then boom, they get told that they're not playing, and a lot of the guys I talked to were like guys are like maybe second round undrafted guys who could have used that, that could have elevated them. Like you said, there's been guys that went from being second round maybe undrafted guys that shot all the way to being a first round pick. So for a lot of these guys, they could have used that, for their benefit. But unfortunately, the coronavirus took over, and we had no college basketball. So that's tough. But how would you rank this class as a whole? Because obviously going into this was, a lot of people had said this was maybe one of the weaker classes, and if you're looking at it as far as maybe like true blue chippers, maybe you could say that. So, but I think this draft has some depth as far as guys that could be, good role players, good NBA players. Like I said, I don't know how many blue chippers are there. So how would you evaluate as this draft class as far as like, grading it overall?
I mean, to me, it's tough because you can't really evaluate or have a proper grade for a class until maybe 5 years down the road. So I think like even with the 13 class, which everyone says it's, the worst class. Yeah. But I think out of that group, you got, if I'm not mistaken, CJ McCollum was in that class. Rudy Gobert may have been in that class. I mean,
was that the Bennett draft? The Bennett draft?
Bennett draft. Yeah. Shout out to AB. He's a friend of mine. But so I think like a lot of times people are judging classes by the superstar prospects at the first half of the draft. So, I mean, what was it? 14. Everybody thought that was a great class with Wiggins and Jabari.
Yeah, everyone thought that was like Carmelo and LeBron.
Carmelo, LeBron. Yeah, and that class, just those two guys haven't been all-star caliber players. I mean, Wiggins has been solid.
I think he had 1 year. He was like 24 a game.
Yeah, he's put up some numbers,
but no all-star. No all-stars.
Yeah, no all-star. I mean, Embiid has been the best player in that class. Yeah. Off the top of my head, I don't know if Jokic was in that class or not, but yeah. So I guess you never know. I mean, to me, you evaluate a class 5 years down the road. This class, it's tough to judge simply because you had so many guys that didn't play college basketball that we didn't see. LaMelo only played like 12 games. He was gone. RJ was in New Zealand. He may have played like 14 games. Yeah. So I think about it like if LaMelo went to like, let's say UCLA and RJ went to Hampton, and then maybe Cole Anthony doesn't get hurt or James Wiseman plays the whole season.
Yeah. That does a lot of those factors too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the draft may be judged a little bit differently, but because, a lot of the guys that are projecting the lottery didn't even play 20 games, or two of the guys weren't even in the States, and then Denny Abdia wasn't in the States. It just kind of makes it hard for the casual, even above casual fan to recognize the names in this class, because I feel like a lot of times names are made during the NCAA tournament and throughout the college basketball season, and we didn't have that this year.
Yeah, and I agree. I feel like a lot of people, because they don't see a lot of star power. I mean, you probably have LaMelo, who's probably the biggest, because we feel like we've heard about LaMelo for years now, right? So we know LaMelo, but everyone else is kind of, maybe James Wiseman would have been that. Like I said, James Wiseman could have been that dude if he played more than 3 games in Memphis. Obi Toppin is another guy. Like, I feel like if he was ascending during the year, his star power was getting there. And then obviously, no tournament, and that kind of killed his stock. And now people, are getting on where Obi's going to go. So, like you said, I just feel like people are just looking at the star power in this draft, and just that's how they're evaluating how good this goes. But like you said, we don't know. We don't.
Yeah, or even if Toppin went to a blue blood school. So, like, let's say it was, we got a regular season with Ball, Hampton, Wiseman, and then Cole Anthony played a full season, and then Obi Toppin was at a blue blood school. I think how people would judge judge would be a little different. And then there were guys that kind of came out of nowhere, like Okongwu. He wasn't projected to be this high. Isaac Okoro didn't come in with the big buzz as a one and done guy that you had to look out for. And then some of the guys that did come in with that hype, like Jaden McDaniels and Isaiah Stewart from Washington,
the Washington guys,
Go Mannion, those guys came in as projected lottery picks, and their season wasn't as strong as a lot of people had projected. So, I mean, it's a wild card. I do think that it will be tough to be a GM in this draft.
That's for sure, man.
But that's what makes it fun. That's why I like this class, because I try to pay attention to like a lot of NBA draft Twitter and their draft boards, and everybody's opinion is all over the place.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I mean,
that's what I like about it.
Yeah. Because I, like you said, I've seen people have James Wiseman number 1, and then I've seen people have James Wiseman in the 20s. Obi Toppin is another guy who's all over the place. Like I just recently did a mock draft, and Obi Toppin went 1, but I did another mock draft where, someone took Toppin in the 20s or even the 30s, like saying he's a second round pick. So this is, like I said, this draft is like, I don't know who's going to be the number 1 pick. Like, I really don't know. Like, you may have a feel, maybe an Anthony Edwards or something, but you wouldn't be surprised if it's maybe 3, 4, 5 guys that could possibly go on number 1. Like, this draft is, I've never seen a draft like this where it's just literally like there could be 4 or 5 guys that can go number 1. Because
I agree.
Yeah, it's crazy just the range for a lot of these guys. Like, it's crazy, especially with Toppin. I feel like Toppin is really one of those guys where people are just, they get on him a lot with the defense, and he went to Dayton and all that, and his age, which I don't really understand the age thing. Like, people don't want to draft him because of his age. I feel like he's old. It's crazy because the league is so young. I mean, it's crazy how young the league is, where like we're talking about Julius Randle at 25 being an old vet. Like,
is Julius 25?
Yeah, he's 25. Yeah, he's 25. It's crazy.
Just want to hear something funny. So I live in Dallas, in the Dallas area. And I see Julius every once in a while at the gym. His trainer is Tyler Ralph, and I know Tyler. And every once in a while, I'll look out my window and I'll see him riding a bike. So yeah, I think he lives like a minute away from where I'm at. I live in some apartments, and he obviously, tax bracket's a little different. So I don't want people thinking that, we live in the same neighborhood technically. But no, like, I followed him when he was in high school, and I guess he is. Yeah, it seems like he's been in forever.
Yeah, I mean, there's some guys
he's
in the
still
league.
Young. Yeah,
he's still young. I mean, and people say, "Oh, he's an old vet. He's one of the old players on the Knicks," and I'm like, "Wow, he's only 25." But that's what's crazy. Like, the league is so young, where you got guys coming in 18, 19 years old, and that's one of the things with Toppin. Do you even, when you go through the process with Toppin, are you even thinking about his age? Is that something that would concern you or anything?
Yeah and no. Well, one, I know Knicks fans are on my neck because I'm
a Knicks fan, bro, and I'll mention it that you have the Knicks at 8 taking Toppin, which I would be absolutely. That would be a home run for me. I think that would be great. But Knicks fans Knicks fans you cannot please Knicks fans, man. I go at Knicks fans, and I'm a Knicks fan. I'm like, what do you? Every day is a new prospect they want at 8. It started for the Coro, then it's Vassell, then it's. Recently, it's been Cole Anthony. Tomorrow I'm sure it's going to be someone else. So the Knicks fans, they don't know what they want at times.
Right. It's crazy. Well, they're just more. To me, they're more expressive.
Yes. Very.
And the reason I like Toppin at 8, and I mentioned it on the website. I know he has ties to CAA, and we know CAA is about to run the Knicks. But I think, like, excuse me, because of his age, I think he's the most ready now prospect. I think that, no matter where he goes, I am making an early prediction for him to be Rookie of the Year, because he's ready now. Like, he's
especially offensively, he's ready
offensively,
to play right now.
He's ready to go now. And so I know the Knicks have a bunch of power forwards or whatever, but I don't imagine all of them being there. And then I also think with today's NBA, you can play Julius at the 5. I mean, he rebounds. And he does have some playmaking skills. And I've been to a couple of his workouts this summer, and he's been shooting a lot of threes. He's been looking to expand this game. I know he has to make like 40 out of 50 from 3 in the corners to move, to finish his workouts. So he's been putting in the work. But yeah, I mean, I think you can play Toppin and Julius together at times. I like Mitchell Robinson. I think Knicks fans have overvalued him.
Oh, you're exactly right. And listen, like I said, I love Mitch too, but when he posts videos, those workout videos against high school,
they're hilarious.
That doesn't get me excited. Like, and you see the fans that get so hyped, like, oh, his handles. I'm like, first of all, it's all over the place, the handles, and there's no chance, literally no chance he's going to be able to do that in the game. So why are we getting excited about that? But like you said, I think Knicks fans do overrate Mitchell Robinson. Like, he's tremendous. I just feel like we've been hurt so much as fans that we just want him to be great so bad that we just want to hold on to him and just like have him grow. But like I said, like I think that some Knicks fans, well, a lot of Knicks fans overrate, like saying he's untradeable and like all this. I think that's kind of crazy to think that. I mean, I hope he's great. I hope he becomes the player we all think we want him to be. But we do overrate him big time.
Yeah, because I hear people saying, well, he such and such will be the best compliment for Robinson and RJ. And I feel like, well, I get it. I get you want those guys to be the future.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Knicks are in position to not take the best player available.
Exactly.
And I think like Tibbs wants to win now. He's not in for a long rebuilding process. And even though, Toppin is not a good defender, I do think that he would be able to provide the most impact
they need
short term right away.
Exactly. I agree.
So that's why I would take him there. I know Vassell would be a good pick. I mean, he would be a good complementary piece based off of what the fans think as RJ and Mitchell are their 1 and 2, and then Vassell would be a good piece to them. I get it from that point of view also. But like I said, I just think Obi Toppin short term is going to put up big numbers. I think he'll win Rookie of the Year because he's ready. Right?
Yeah.
He's offensively. He's so polished on the offensive end of the floor. His passing is underrated.
Yes, underrated.
Shoots. He's obviously a freak athlete, and I think he's like a poor man's Amari.
Yeah, I had mentioned that a few weeks ago. He has a lot of Amari in his game, and
my brother jokes.
And if you got Amari in your game, I mean that's a good comp. And if he plays anything like Amari, you would take that.
Right. My brother's like, well, he may not be Suns Amari, but he may be Knicks Amari. I'm like, well, I think Knicks Amari averaged 25 a game.
Well, the first year before they got Melo, before Melo came, he was like MVP candidate, like top 2. Like he was killing it with the Knicks. So even if it's just that, if we just get that version for that first year. That was 25 and 9. That was an all NBA player.
Yeah. So I
get that at 8, man. I mean, Amari Stoudemire too was what he was a 9th, 9th pick too in his draft from 2002. So I mean, it's kind of. So I mean, if that's and I like I said, I've a lot of similarities with those two, and if we get him at 8, I mean, I think that, like you said, instant offense was something I think the Knicks need. And he's a super freak athletically. I mean, he's just gifted offensively. He does so many good things. I think that would be great, but it's gonna if he's there. Like you said, if he's there, I think if he's there, to me, they got to run and get him. It's got to run to the podium and get him, like no hesitation, because he come in and he can electrify. And obviously, I don't even know if they're going to be fans there, but he can electrify the Garden if we got fans there, because he's just so gifted offensively. Defense, obviously, the defense can be worked on, but listen, we need offense. Offense is what, you got to score points in this league. So, you can always find other guys to, especially defense, to help defense. Hopefully Frank and all those guys can help out. But, Toppin at 8 to me is definitely someone that I would be ecstatic if they get him at 8. But like I said, I feel like people nitpick on him too much because of the age and the defense. And it's like, his offense is ready to go. Like he's probably the most polished player, like most NBA ready player.
Now, I think the defense is going to be a major issue because I've never in my life seen anybody so athletic and unathletic at the same time.
Yeah. He could be
like vertically, he explodes.
Yeah.
But laterally, like it's weird. Like he's such a freak athlete, but he's also stiff at the same time. And, I seen like the scouting report that he has tight hips and small legs. So I do think that he may be one of those guys that could help a team. Maybe not be the best player, but maybe the second option on a playoff team, which if you're a Knicks fan, you got to crawl before you walk. Making the playoffs would be great. But I do see him as a guy that in the playoffs, teams would just attack and they'd hunt him. And then that's where his defensive issues could really it'll get you in the playoffs, but it also gets you swept in the first round too.
But do you think his, all that stuff defensively, especially if he would go to Tibbs, you think those things could be worked on and he can be a solid defender, a respectable defender, or is that things that, he's going to be really tough?
I just don't know if he moves well laterally. And then in today's NBA, it's like, especially in the playoffs, if a team sees a weakness, they're going to go at you.
They're going to attack you. Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think they'd have to come up with a pretty good scheme to hide him. If RJ becomes a plus defender and Robinson becomes a smarter defender.
Yeah, because he still has to work things defensively.
Yeah, he wants to block every shot.
Yeah.
And then, I think Frank is a good defender. He just needs to become more confident and assertive on the offensive end of the floor.
That's for sure. Yeah.
But I think that you have to kind of find pieces to hide him on the defensive end, which, I think they'll figure it out. I really think like with Leon Rose in charge of the Knicks, they're going to turn around pretty fast because
you're confident? You're confident? Oh, that makes me happy.
I'm 100% confident.
All right, that makes me happy. I feel so much better now that you said.
They're going to get one of these big CAA guys, even if it's somehow Chris Paul next year and they make it to the playoffs. Whether it's Devin Booker, whether it's Karl Anthony Towns or whoever, Worldwide West is in charge. I think they're going to figure it out pretty soon. I think if we're being honest, the last time the Knicks were relevant was when CAA was quietly running the Knicks with Melo and Mike Woodson and JR and all those guys. So, I think they'll be able to turn it around.
Well, that's music to a lot of Knicks fans, because it's been a struggle. It's definitely been. Do you think Kevin Knox can fix his game? You think he can be a respectable NBA player? What do you think about his struggles? Because I don't know. He's been tough. He's been like last year. With his rookie year, I know the numbers and he didn't shoot a great percentage, but he looked like he would be a solid NBA. He won Rookie of the Month 1 month. So you're like, okay, he's got to work on his efficiency, but you see, okay, he could be a solid player. He's got the size and all that. But then last year, I don't know if it was because they added Marcus Morris and just like you said, all the power forwards they added and just not a lot of spacing, and maybe he just lost his confidence. But he didn't look like he belonged in the NBA. He looked like he should have been in the G League. He probably should have been in the G League. And so do you think he's salvageable? I don't know how were you high on him coming out of Kentucky at all?
I was pretty high on him, and then after Summer League, I was like, oh dang, I wasn't high enough on him, because remember Summer League, he looked he's gonna be Rookie of the Year. But you know what? He has been forgotten about. Like when you hear about people talk about the Knicks' futures, I hear Frank more than Knox. I hear, obviously RJ and Mitchell, but I rarely hear people say Knox. I'm not in New York, so I don't know the pulse of it, but
no, you're right.
It's like fans have
we forgot about Knox a lot, but it's like
and Dennis. They're off Dennis.
Yeah, because and obviously Dennis is big because that was who we got for trading Porzingis. So like I said, he was another guy where obviously he wasn't efficient when he got here, but you saw like okay, he get it off season, full off season with the Knicks, we can get some, and then. He was. I know he battled some personal stuff and some injuries, so that was a big factor last year too. But those two guys. If you get anything out of them, those are like getting 2 free agents. Because they didn't do anything last year. So you add they give you anything this year for the Knicks.
Anything.
That's getting 2 free agents without paying for anything, you know? So, I mean,
that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, do you think a lot of that is actual player development? Like the Knicks lack of player development compared to, we look at the team across the bridge over here in New York and Brooklyn, and they've had a lot less draft assets and all that. They, obviously the trade for Boston, they got rid of all their picks, and they did a lot more with less than what the Knicks have done with a whole bunch of, top 10, top 5 picks. So is that just their bad scouting, or just the player development has been poor? Because that's something that's been a hot topic, is player development. And like the guys they brought in now, we feel a lot confident about the player development aspect. So do you think it's a factor in with the Knicks?
I mean, it's valid. It's hard to dispute the difference. It's hard to dispute like Karis LeVert, or even like
Spencer
Dinwiddie
and Jarrett,
Joe Harris. It's hard to argue against that. I think there's a little bit more pressure to being a Knick than a Net.
That is true.
I mean, it may even out a little bit now with everything that's going on over there. But yeah, I mean, it could be a scouting thing. Even though I felt like Alonzo Trier was a steal.
Yeah, they messed that. I don't know. They messed that up. I feel like
I've never understood why he wasn't, like, he was an excellent finisher in college, and when he was playing minutes, he produced.
Yeah, I didn't understand. I don't even know why he went undrafted. That was crazy as it is.
Yeah,
the fact that when he was here in New York, when he played, he was doing things, and then last year they just said you're not playing at all.
Yeah,
and forgot, and then they waived him, like they cut him, like. Why?
And nobody picked him up, right?
Nobody picked him up. Like I don't get that. I hope he proves people wrong, because I feel like he could definitely be a spark off the bench for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I can't say. I mean, I thought he was a steal, and I think like you got Robinson for.
I give him credit for that.
He would be higher. But yeah, Knox and Frank have not lived up to their hype. I don't know. I mean, it could be player development.
Mm-hmm.
It could be, I don't know. Sometimes I even feel like even if you have a great player development staff, you have to draft the right person, the right player with the right mentality. Mm-hmm. I mean, like you have to be uber confident to go to New York.
Yeah,
because
for sure,
it's.
Yeah, I don't think Knox has that killer instinct for New York.
You gotta have that.
New York can drown you. It could drown you big time with with the media here. I mean, we got papers, big time newspapers over here. Yep. You're in the back page, and they don't write a lot of pretty headlines. That could get to you,
Yeah, and you're a kid. Like you're 19 years old, and you're coming into New York. The fans are starving for success.
Exactly. I think all that stuff adding up can eat you up.
It's tough. So you got to have the right personality for it. And so that would be my concern about like LaMelo. I know everybody wants LaMelo in New York.
Yeah.
And that would be my concern about him, because I think the hype would be so high on him. But man, and he's gonna be a kid. He might be like 18 or 19.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I think the media would be brutal to him if he doesn't live.
And his dad too. That's another thing.
Yeah,
his dad. First of all, his dad wants them in New York. He wants him in New York,
mm-hmm.
and the New York papers and all the media in New York. If LaMelo's playing 20 minutes and not finishing games, who they're gonna go to. They're gonna go to LeVar, and he's gonna say what's on his mind. And
he's been quiet lately, though. I mean, with Lonzo's failures, he's kind of been a little quiet.
But in New York, no matter what, they're gonna, in New Orleans they can hide. You can hide, but in New York City you cannot hide. Like they will find LeVar, TMZ, all these news outlets. They will find them, and they'll try to get a headline, because that's what it's about. New York, who gets the best headline? That's what it's about. So that's the one thing that worries me with LaMelo, is more of that aspect. Like. That's scary. That because the heat will be on, and like I said, the New York fans are starving because it's been a bad 7, 8 years of losing and thinking we're gonna get the number one pick, and then falling. Every year we think we're gonna get a top pick, and then we always fall short. So it's just 60 lost seasons here. So like the starving for a winner is something that, that we're really craving. So, I mean, that, like I said, New York, it's tough. So maybe but I think RJ has the mentality for New York, though.
Definitely.
It feels like he's built for New York, How do you feel about RJ?
I like RJ. I had a post on YouTube with my brother probably like last February. I thought RJ was better than Zion. So that's it's still up on there. Luckily, like, it kind of has faded away. But I did think that
you're not the only
RJ,
person. I'm sure a lot of people, felt that way, that overall, like Zion obviously has the star. He's a superstar, like as far as, just the media attraction and just all that. He just has it. But RJ's game was probably overall better, especially at Duke. Overall, he was, they were running the offense through him.
Yeah. I just thought that if I needed a closer, I'd rather have the ball in RJ's hands as the closer than Zion. I mean, Zion is tough. Like he's gonna be crazy efficient from the floor, and I mean, I do think he may be kind of tough to build around because I think his best position would be a 5.
Yeah,
but that means you have to find a floor spacer. RJ. I thought RJ was going to have a big rookie year. He had a solid rookie year. The shooting numbers were a little disappointing. But he's a player that I don't worry about like long term because I think he has the makeup and the mentality to go in the gym and work out and just kind of correct, whatever issues that he had. But yeah, I definitely like RJ. I guess one of my concerns with him is he is so used to like bullying guys on the on the high school levels and even like college, but he doesn't really have any moves. It's just. So I think that for him, he would probably need to. Well, I'll put it like this: I like who he works out with. I think he worked with Drew Hanlon. And Drew. I mean, like just the progress Bradley Beal has made over the years as far as just like being like a one-on-one player. I think
for sure. Yeah.
Bill came into the league. I just had him in the box as a shooter.
Yeah.
But now he can do a lot more with
He's
the
all
ball.
around. Like Bradley Beal is one of the best all around offensive players.
Yeah.
Like he can do
30 points a game.
Yeah.
He can run the pick and rolls now. So yeah, I think RJ needs to add a little sauce to his game.
Yeah. But he's still young. And the team around him, I mean, the Knicks didn't have much to help him with the shooting, So I think that hurt him a lot. But, I'm high. I like I said, high on RJ too. Let's hope he can help, help the rebuild for sure and for this team. But in this draft, who are guys that you give me a few guys that are going too low for you in drafts, and give me a couple guys that you feel like are going too high in the draft.
Well, again, that's hard to say because we don't have the luxury of hearing about workouts or anything like that. So if a player's stock goes up or down, what is it based off of?
Exactly.
Nothing. I talked to the father of a guy who was projected lottery, and he said like, "Hey, my son dropped on the last mock draft." He's like, "What did he do?" And I was like nobody, nobody knows. It's just your opinion can change because you spent too much time evaluating. So I don't know. It's hard to say. I think that I like Kyra Lewis a lot. I did a mock draft when someone had him going to the Knicks at number 8.
I've done a few with the Knicks with him going to the
Knicks. I like him a lot. The player who I really like, and I put him going to the Knicks on my last mock with is it pick 27? And I think that I think that it's not going to be the sexiest pick.
No.
But he might be a Fred VanVleet type. He might be that guy that because he didn't pass the eye test as this freak athlete he stayed in school too long or whatever. But you look at Winston, he can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a 40% shooter throughout his college career. He knows how to play the game. Exactly, he knows how to run a team. He wins, and I think he's ready now. And so I think that like he's a guy that if you put him in a draft workout with Dennis Smith is going to wow you because you're
of
going to
course,
see
yeah.
all the athleticism and this, and that. But I mean, I don't want to be too hard on Dennis Smith, but I think he's a dude that, like, there's guys that hoop and there's guys that know how to play basketball.
Yeah,
And I think Dennis Smith can hoop. If you're a bad team and you're just, you want some excitement, you want to roll the ball out, and like he can hoop. But if you want to play basketball, and that can make all the right reads and all the right passes, I mean, Cassius Winston, like I really. And I kind of slept on him because his game isn't sexy. It ain't smooth.
Yeah. And he's only 6'1". Like he doesn't have the measurables, but he has the intangibles though for sure.
He has the intangibles. I mean, like think about how late Kyle Lowry was drafted. Because he's not jumping out the gym. He's not.
I could see Cassius with some Kyle Lowry in him. I mean, they got the same height, same body type too. Like like you said, Kyle Lowry, like it was a late break, and then he was a kind of a late bloomer too. I mean, the Memphis got rid of him, and then he balled out. I mean, he was a late bloomer, but look at him now. I mean, even at 35 years old, he's going for 30 points, and hitting some big time shots, especially last season. So that's definitely I think like you said, people look at him and like they just throw him away, and like you said, like you see him, he's 6'1". Maybe 200 pounds and not sexy, 4-year guy. People don't value 4-year guys anymore. Like you said, the league is so young where everyone's one and done, and we all want those guys. But you need guys like Cassius Winston on your team to win.
Yeah, and I think like why I like that pick for New York is that Tibbs used to make something out of nothing with guards. Like remember one year. It was Nate Robinson. Nate was like their offense in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then another year they won I want to say they won 50 games, and DJ Augustine was their leading scorer, like 15 points a game. And
Jimmy Butler,
Jimmy Butler. Yeah. So I think Jimmy would have developed under anybody just because he has a different level of competitive fire and
he's different.
Him.
He's different for sure.
And I've actually met him once, and he was really different.
That's funny.
But I mean, I think like Tibbs can be creative. Like he doesn't get credit for being a creative offensive coach, which I totally get that. But I have seen him like I said, he won 50 games with DJ Augustine as the leading scorer, and I think they got him as probably like a throw-in a deal.
Yeah.
1 year, Noah, he ran the offense through Noah. Was like
it was like a point forward kind of like they were running off. Yeah,
I think he was like first team or second team All NBA 2013-14. Yeah, and so I think Cassius Winston would be I think he would be a good fit for New York. I mean, you got to figure out what you're going to do with Peyton and then and Dennis. But and I think New York's going to get a point guard in the draft somehow, not in the draft, but in free agency somehow or trade. And then if Cassius is your backup, and then I think Frank can be like your Marcus Smart in a sense. If he can be that type of guy. I mean, he's not going to be as
aggressiveness. He doesn't have that. Marcus Smart's different too.
He's different. But I mean, I like Frank, and maybe I'm a little biased because, like I said, the first scouting tournament I went to, he was there, and then he lived in Dallas last summer, and I went to like a bunch of his workouts, and he's really a nice guy, overall nice person. And I think to his detriment because
he's so nice.
He's nice on the. on the basketball court. Like he's
a nice guy. Yeah,
he's a nice.
He got into it with LeBron a little bit. Remember that game with Kent?
He got into it with LeBron. He got on the defensive end. Like he's not.
He got into Russ too, and with Russell Westbrook in the I think like 4 games before everything got shut down. He was going at Russ a lot too.
Yeah, no, that is true. I think he'll scrap on the defensive end. He's not like a pushover, but I think like offensively, he's not like as aggressive and assertive. Like he's just his offensive confidence or his confidence on the defensive end totally differs than his confidence on the offensive end. If you can get him to balance out, I think that he could be a very, very good complementary piece. I mean, I don't think he's going to be like a star, but if he can just knock down shots. I mean, look at Marcus Smart. He was a terrible shooter for years. He was not an NBA player on the offensive end until maybe like 3 years ago. And so
and then he saved them in game 2 for the Bulls. He had what 4 straight threes at one point, 5 straight threes,
something like that. But he never lost his confidence in his shot. I mean, even when he was a bad shooter, he was still letting it fly. And you had to like, you know, it's kind of like, remember with the Bulls, they would let Rodman shoot threes every once in a while. Like, you're doing all this extra stuff. We'll reward you. Exactly.
You have to get like a few times you see Rodman shoot some threes. You know, when you get 30 rebounds a game, bro. Like, I'll give.
Go ahead, shoot a couple
threes here and there. You know, they're gonna leave you wide open anyway. So you know,
right. So I thought Smart had like this irrational confidence in his shot, and I don't think Frank has that.
Yeah. I would hope. I hope. You know, it felt like some games where you know, I remember think a game against Atlanta, he was really aggressive offensively, but you got to see it more consistent with Frank. But defensively, I feel like he could be solid. But hopefully, it matches the offense. So, all right. So before I let you go, just give me a few like super deep sleepers that you don't really hear people talking about at all.
The first one that comes to mind is Paul Bois. He's a kid out of Italy, super athletic. He may be like 6'8", long arms, bouncy, like I said. But he's really raw. Really raw. Like his basketball IQ. You know, just some of the decisions that he makes or whatever, but it's due to inexperience. I actually had a chance to interview him on my channel, and I think he's only been playing basketball for like 6 years.
Oh, so he's super new,
Yeah, if the Knicks had like a strong development team, which we don't know right now because everything is new, he would be someone that I would take a flyer on. I wouldn't call him a sleeper, but I like Grant Riller a lot. I mean, he's a bucket.
He can shoot it from anywhere too.
Yeah, he can score. Like the thing about him is like, you know, the NBA is tough now because you have to either you got your guys that are your superstars, and then you have everyone else has to complement them. And so I could see him being a guy like maybe like Trier in a sense. Like Trier doesn't necessarily. He can score. Everyone knows he can get buckets. But for whatever reasons, because his game is probably suited to be like the man on the team, the number one option. Teams may feel like he's not a good complementary player unless you just put him as a six man. But I think in today's NBA, if you're going to be like a high scorer like that, you have to be a really good passer. And so on one hand, I could see Riller like succeeding in the NBA, but then on the other hand, I could see him struggling, and then a team in China offers him like a crazy amount of money, and he can go over there and score 40 points a game and have a long career over there. So I can see like it happening both ways, but he's a guy that I think the Knicks have three total picks, right?
Yeah, they have 8, 27, and I believe 38 in the second round.
So, yeah, he could possibly be available in the second round. I'm not sure. 38, you're right. I like Paul Reed from DePaul.
Yeah, he's another guy. Yeah,
I like him. I like
block some shots.
Maybe Elijah Hughes. You know, Knicks fans should be familiar with him.
Yeah.
If you like shooting, maybe like Isaiah Joe from Arkansas. He's a little thin, but I think that he could come in and knock down some shots. Tibbs may like Ashton Hagans from Kentucky because
he's good.
You know, he plays D. He's kind of like a Pat Beverly type. I mean, those are some guys. But I think with 38, you just got to take the best player available.
The 38 for the Knicks, right?
Yeah.
And then because if they take an Obi Toppin at 8 and you get Cassius Winston, I mean, I think that's obviously, you know, it's not sexy. It may not be sexy for fans, but like we can't be picky as Knicks fans. Like you really can't be. Like you just got to take the best player available and hope that, like you said, the player development that they have now can help develop these guys into good players. And then at 38, they took Mitchell Robinson, who was a project. He didn't play. You know, he didn't get to play. He was supposed to go to Western Michigan. Didn't get to play, whatever. And then you know they wound up developing him to now he's someone that's possibly going to be getting paid, possibly. And so, we'll see how they go. But, they can go a lot of ways with this. But it's going to be interesting to see for the Knicks. And this draft is going to be one of the most, it's going to be crazy. The draft. It's, guys are going to, to see, boards are going to be going crazy, because like I said, the wide range of guys where they can go, it's something I don't think we'll ever see before, but it's crazy. But Rafael, this was a pleasure having you on the show, my man. Like I said, man, big fan of your work, and like I said, it was an honor to have you on the show, and man, just happy to have you on, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate I appreciate the opportunity. It's always fun to talk basketball.
Yeah.
Anytime you want me on, let me know. I'll
Sure.
be on in a heartbeat, and then hopefully I can have you on. Maybe we can switch roles. And
I would love that, man. I would be honored. All
right, we'll
I do my own. I got my own stuff too. I got my board ready. I got my stuff.
I saw you did a mock draft. So I saw that.
I'll try. Yeah. Whatever time I get, I try to work on my, work, kids, all the craziness, And whenever I can get some time, I try to do my own stuff. And I got my own network that I've been working on. So I got some guys that help me out too. So, but yeah, I would be honored to come on your show and chop it up and talk, and talk hoops for sure.
All right, yeah, let's set it up. Let's set it up for this week.
Now
the roles are reversed. You are Leon Rose, so you have to tell me who you're picking at. 8, 27, and 38.
Oh yeah, I got my lined up of who I want the Knicks to get and all that. So I'll be ready for that for sure.
All right, sounds good. Well, thanks a lot, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Before I let you go, who's going to the finals?
Oh man, I want the Rockets. I definitely want the Rockets to beat the Lakers and Clippers. I'm a Harden fan.
I want to see upsets. I just want to see a whole bunch of upsets. So everything gets messed up. I'm all for the upset. I don't want for Miami beating the Bucks. I like drama. I like to see the drama. Now we're gonna see what the whole Giannis thing is gonna go crazy. If they lose, I just love drama. If the Lakers and the Clippers lose, man, this is more drama for the off season. So I'm all for that.
Yeah, that's why I want Houston to win, because I guess I'm just big on people who think unconventional. I like what they're doing. It's just like, we're gonna forget what history says, forget what tradition says. We're just gonna try to play small, and I think if they win or they're successful, it's gonna change. It's gonna possibly change the NBA because it's a copycat league. But out the West, I definitely want Houston to come out the West, and then as far as the East, I wouldn't have an issue with Miami, Toronto, or Boston. But I guess,
man, Boston blew that game, man. That game 3, they should have. They would be up 3-1 at least. Yeah, man, that defense. Yeah, the defense was bad on that. But
so I guess Houston and Miami. The only thing about if it was Houston and Miami, people are really going to put an asterisk saying, "Oh, this is the bubble." Because I think if the Lakers and the Bucks, or the Lakers and the 2 number 1 seeds made it. Then people say, well, this was like normal. If you got 2 teams that, 2 4 seeds or whatever that make it, then I think people won't respect it as much. But I would love to see that. So
that would
Houston
definitely.
and Miami would be my choices.
That'll be fun. Jimmy versus Harden. Give me that. I'll take that. That'll be fun for sure. But just plug whatever where your social media is, your website. Go plug all that stuff before I let you go.
Yes, Rafael Barlowe. My Twitter is Barlowe500. I probably need to just make it my first name. But, I've had it for a while. My website is NBA Draft Junkies, and so if you type in NBA Draft Junkies, my YouTube channel will come up. I also have a podcast, which is pretty much the same content as you'll find on YouTube. So I'm kind of double dipping and scaling it. Then I have another podcast that I started. It's called Run the Floors. It's a general basketball podcast. I'll probably be a little bit more active on that once the draft is over. But that podcast will be, I guess, similar to this in a sense where it's like general basketball. I do interviews, whether it's with players, people kind of giving their background, telling their stories. And then I think my goal for next year is to just produce content every day, just kind of treat it like it's my own radio show. That's
awesome.
That's my goal. I figure if I can get up early and take an hour or 2 every day to talk basketball, and I just think like endless potential in this podcasting space. So,
and there's always something to talk about with basketball. Basketball is 365, 7 days a week, 24/7. There's always something going on in basketball. That's why I started my podcast and I talked about everything. But I felt like with basketball, like that, I could just do a show with just basketball, and that's how I just kept it to just talking hoops. Because, like I said, the off season is crazy. You get the regular season play. It's every day is something. There's endless things to talk about with basketball. So that's why
I agree.
It's the best. The basketball is just simply the best. But this was fun. Like I said, Rafael, I really appreciate you coming on, man. Like I said, continue success with everything, because your story is great. Your story is great, and how you got everything started, and the success of the YouTube channel and your website and all the content you. Like I said, it's one of my sources that I use for my personal when I do my own scouting with the prospects. So like I said, it's tremendous, the stuff you're putting out. So man, I appreciate you coming on, and nothing but continued success, and just make sure you're safe where you are. I know Texas had you're going through things just like New York a little bit, but
I'm in the crib.
Yeah, just stay inside, wear your mask, and just be safe. But like I said, man, thank you for coming on, man. I really appreciate that.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yes. That's Rafael Barlowe, and make sure to follow him. I'll make sure to have all his stuff on the description below when I post the show. Make sure you follow me at Off the Ball Pod on Twitter and Instagram, and make sure to follow the podcast, available on all podcast platforms. On that note, guys, take care and have a great night.